There are a lot of people that don't know that they're buying into a narrative. That's why they think trans folks being excluded from the military is a violation of human rights, as opposed to seeing the military and what we do abroad as a violation of people's global human rights and human dignity, is because we've been told acquire power and then you'll be all right. But we're never told about all the people, like the folks at Guantanamo Bay, upon whom that power is built and how it was acquired. And for me, Black Lives Matter was a huge moment of coming to a realization of what militarism in general, how that continues to oppress Black folks in my own community, but how our investment in that structure is oppression of people globally. In the Midwest, it is not unusual to see young poor folks, but also young poor Black and brown folks coerced into military participation. That you are convinced that being in the military is your only way to gain access to the American dream, that by getting some sort of educational benefit, having a steady income, oftentimes they'll tell young folks, like, this will give you discipline. And so as a result, I've had family members and friends join the military, not because they wanted to be a soldier so much, but they wanted to have access to the American dream, quote unquote. And this idea of get your hands dirty with us and then you can belong is really about, I feel like, getting communities implicated in the empire, about getting people so far into it that they feel like they cannot exit it or rebel against it. In my relationships that I've been able to build with people through things like ILPS or Anak Bayon, learning about Black soldiers who did join the military, and they'd go to the Philippines and they would see that they were killing folks who looked just like them in a lot of ways, or were experiencing similar things to them, and were living under the same empire and oppression, and suddenly realized they were playing a role and continuing to push the oppression of the United States globally. And understanding, looking at history. This is why we don't teach young people history. The fact that that Black soldiers joined the military during World War II, and when they came back because of the promise of the GI Bill, like, this is your way to be included in U.S. society. When they came back, they were denied access to the GI Bill. The GI Bill was actually one of the root causes of redlining, because there was this promise of, if you go to war for the United States, when you come back, we will help you get a home, we will help you get a college education, and when Black families, Black soldiers would go to get those homes, they would be denied access to the suburbs. So this promise of the American dream through military service has time and time again been denied to Black and brown folks. And they don't tell that history, because usually what happens next is Black and brown folks catch on and say, ah, shit, like, this was really just about continuing the oppression over our communities and then getting us to be willing to go oppress other communities and enforce borders we weren't really about in the first place. There are other ways for us to participate, to gain access to a community, to a movement, to being a part of something bigger than ourselves, which is what I think most people are yearning for, and what those who are invested in the military-industrial complex actually, benefit from. They build in, is our desire to belong, and they use that to coerce people into the military. What else can we be building to bring folks into our movements, to bring folks into anti-militarization, to understand at the root for some communities as to why they would become a part of the empire is because they lack access to resources, access to community, and access to economic opportunity. How do we build alternative sustainable systems that make the military look a whole lot less attractive?